Hello and welcome back to Inside the Apex, our F1 show. I'm joined back by me, Robin, and Corey and Sid are here with me again.
Hello.
Hello.
But we have a new guest, I suppose. Maybe a permanent fixture, we'll see. It's Matt. Say hello.
Hello, good to be here.
Yeah, just quickly before we start, I guess, to know a bit about you. What's like your favourite team or driver or so,
So ever since I started watching F1 like way long ago, it's always been Red Bull, because my first favourite driver was Daniel Ricciardo.
Yeah, let's go.
So I watched him for a bit, and then Max came along in like 2015 as well, and I just thought, oh, he looks good, he can beat Lewis and end his dominance, and I just followed Max from there.
He did beat Lewis.
I'm really getting outnumbered here, guys.
For real, I'm just recruiting all the
Another Max fan in the
Can we
building.
please find a Hamilton fan?
Well, obviously, the Mexico City Grand Prix was just this weekend, and that's what we're here to talk about. I think some notable mentions before we get into qualifying. In free practice 3, I know Ferraris weren't looking that good. They were like really low down, 14th, 15th. I think that was important to just mention, seeing as they did really good in qualifying. And I'm not sure. I think Albon did really well in free practice.
Mm-hmm.
He did, yeah. He was in a Red Bull sandwich. Max was first, and then I think Perez was third, and Albon was second. So, he did really well in practice and we expected that because the Williams is good in a straight line. And Mexico
I
being a
remember
high
seeing
altitude city.
that long straight as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he was only like 700ths of a second off Max anyway at the end.
Yeah, only 7. Yeah.
Yeah, and then he got
Only.
points in the race.
Obviously, Max still.
Hey, that's closer than Checo.
It's not hard.
Yeah. And obviously qualifying did seem pretty important this race because it wasn't too easy to overtake. Not quite Monaco-esque, but still not. There's tracks that are much easier to overtake. So obviously qualifying was very important, and we can start with what was a shock in Q1, Norris going out actually.
17.
Yeah.
Let me remind you guys, and I mean, it was honestly, if you saw sort of what happened, it sort of makes sense, but at the same time, obviously, you'd expect him to be in Q3. I mean, I think he only had like one run.
Yeah,
he
he got messed up by yellow flags a bit.
And then Alonso spun and that ruined like his next couple runs, so he did only have that one lap, but obviously, one lap should be enough for that McLaren, especially at this end of the season.
He also wasn't the only one getting messed up by the
He made a mistake
yellows.
at that one shot that he had, and he paid the price for it.
Yeah, and just unfortunate, really. He just going out. But obviously, we'll see in the race, he did an excellent drive, but we'll get onto that, obviously. But, he did make up for it, but
He's
not what you want to see, but... Yeah.
He's still in his post-race interview sounded pretty disappointed because if he hadn't had that qualifying, he probably could have been
maybe a
on the podium
again.
yeah.
Podium,
He said that
definitely.
himself. He said that if I had a decent qualifying, I would have been on the podium, and he had the pace for it. So,
Yeah.
Or you think he might have started like on the front row? Or something?
I would say top
Maybe.
5 was easy top 5.
Definitely, yeah. Well, let's have a look at anything.
I think
Go on.
I was going to say the other like surprise from qualifying was obviously Daniel Ricciardo. I mean, that's not not Q1,
Of course,
but like
my boy.
the surprises.
Oh my god.
A P4 and an Alpha Tauri.
It was interesting watching qualifying, and a lot of the drivers at the start, they were just like, I don't know if they were feeling out the circuit. A lot of them were struggling. I'm not sure if the altitude had stuff to do with it. Maybe it was just finding that right line, because I remember seeing if you go off, it's very dirty, and a lot of drivers just. It was interesting to see as well, actually. I wrote this down. You saw a lot of the time when it's everyone was like backed up in the pit lane. Did you see that? This happened like twice or 3 times. Oh my god, that was crazy to see. Like, it reminds me of like the old days of like I think it was in like Spain or something, where it's like like half the grid couldn't like do their final lap.
Yeah.
Oh, that was crazy,
or like
and stuff
Monza,
like that.
when they were all getting toes around Monza.
Oh yeah.
And, I think we've seen this more now as well, because the FIA has set up something called a maximum lap time.
Yes.
Where you can't if you're on the track, you can't exceed like that certain, I think 2.5 minutes.
Oh, you can't go too slow.
Lap time. Yeah, you can't go slower than expected, which has resulted in penalties before. So that's why people queue up in the pit lane, and then they don't want to go, because then if they go out on the track, track, as soon as they go on the track,
round.
they started counting.
Because that was set up after I can't remember which year, but a particularly chaotic Monza qualifying. And now it's like now they've moved.
I think
the
it was
chaos.
2019.
Yeah.
2019.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was crazy to watch.
Moved the chaos to the pit lane instead of the track, which I guess.
But also, I think it was because a lot of teams wanted a tow, I think.
Yeah.
And so
True.
a lot of the drivers were backed up because they had to go out together, I'd say, to get that tow.
And also because of the high altitude and the temperatures on the track, the window where the soft tires worked really well for them was so short.
Yeah, that's
true. It was like one sector, like half a sector. So they wanted that optimal time to be on that track, which obviously will result in traffic.
And and you saw as well at the end, like, all the drivers, especially with Max, it was like very close with the time. So, like you were mentioning, with getting that perfect time zone for that tire is very important, because obviously in qualifying, everyone within tenths of seconds, like it's all that small minute details is very important, pretty much.
Yeah.
And
I mean, shocker, Ferrari actually got it right this time.
Yeah, and I mean, we saw this before, like Ferrari. Maybe they gear their car towards that one lap. I mean, maybe
that's true.
Like they get that 1-2, which is that's crazy. Like 1-2 Ferrari, like
no one expected that.
With Max on the grid, you have another Red Bull, you have Mercedes looking good, and McLaren as well. Maybe getting second, third, maybe, but no, Ferrari somehow.
And what's more of a shock, I'm sorry, Corey, is that they barely scraped through Q2. They were like at the 9th and 10th.
That's true. I think
the end of
Leclerc
Q2
was
laps.
like asking like, "Oh, have we got enough time or something?"
Yeah, and then just they did one lap in pole and second place.
And Leclerc getting pole means he gets to add to that terrible stat he has.
This is 22nd now. Yeah.
The pole to win.
Back-to-back poles as well.
Back-to-back poles as well.
That's like that's what I was saying last week. Like he's just good at that.
And it still feels like it isn't his fault that he has that terrible ratio.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, still feels like it's the car.
It's not like his race pace is bad.
Yeah.
It's just. I mean, Ferrari.
Strategy for Ferrari is just awful at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, but then I didn't see anything wrong with Ferrari's strategy
I wrote that
this
down.
race as well.
They were just slower.
They just had no pace.
Yeah, I mean, we'll get onto that, but I mean, like nothing egregious. I wrote it down. Like they didn't really do anything wrong.
There was no fault.
I felt like that was just surprise. Like it's interesting. You have a 1-2, and honestly, looking back on it, that's like the best result you could have probably gotten. And that's a bit. I don't know if that's a bit sad to say that you have both your cars in 1-2 and you only get one podium.
Third and fourth. Yeah.
It's very Ferrari, is what it is.
And
but then again, they're also against Hamilton and Verstappen.
Yeah.
So we have to give them some credit here.
But one more notable thing in qualifying was both Alphas getting into Q3.
That was kind
of crazy. I thought Albon almost sneaked in there, but his time got deleted, and both that is a great result for them. Like
that was amazing.
Their car's terrible, but they both get Q3. That is really good.
And the Alphas have had some weirdly good quali results this year, though. Like Joe in Silverstone got I
was gonna say quali. Earlier on
and then stalled on the start of the race, and I don't mourn it.
That haunts you still. But
what's with the Italian teams doing well in quali, but then being nowhere in the
race? I think they're just flashy. They want to. They want the quali.
I'm not sure if that's just the teams they know. Like maybe they can't fight too. They know their race pace isn't quite there, or they can't fight as much as they want to, and gearing their car a bit more towards qualifying, getting that one lap pace and getting a better start.
Yeah, but prioritizing track position above their race pace.
And also for this race, track position was fairly important.
It was,
we mentioned, it's not too easy to overtake, and I mean with Ricciardo getting fourth somehow ahead of Perez, what a lap. I don't know. It's crazy that Perez. The AlphaTauri ahead of the Red Bull, that is embarrassing. And
that's
surely got to raise some questions in Perez's career though for next season if he's being out-qualified by an Alpha.
Definitely as well with the talks that have been happening with maybe Perez. Is his seat up for grabs? Is it in question? And now
is Daniel Ricciardo going
and
to
now
that seat?
The guy that everyone's talking about, he comes back, puts in
second race after a broken wrist. By the way,
he's very impressive.
and he puts in that 4th place. I mean, that's incredible.
That
ahead of even like Mercedes as well. Like both McLaren as well. Like
it was old school Daniel Ricciardo.
Yeah, Ricciardo was flying.
AlphaTauri. It's like imagine like Albon there. It would be the same thing. Like that would be insane. And it was. You saw in the race as well, track position was very important. Like he stayed up there like for fairly long, and it wasn't too easy to overtake. So I think it was important this race to get a good qualifying, and all the cars that weren't as quick managed to do so, and they benefited from it in the race pretty much. So
true.
And they finished 7th, so like a very solid result for AlphaTauri.
I thought that he would just fall down the order, but he didn't.
I was worried when I was watching qualifying. I was like, oh no, please don't be like you get 4th and then you end like 14th or something. I'll cry. Like, but I'm glad he got some decent points and almost.
Well, to be fair, it was looking like a double AlphaTauri points finish. Piastri obviously crashed into Tsunoda.
Piastri and Tsunoda.
I know. In the championship battle that's still going on down at the bottom of the field, it's like slightly concerning for Williams that AlphaTauri look like they might have sorted stuff out because it's pretty close to Williams.
Yeah, it's interesting. These last 3 races now that are coming up are very important for these lower teams, pretty much, and. Every point is important now, pretty much.
I think AlphaTauri and Alfa Romeo are tied for points right now.
So at 16 points.
Yeah, and they're catching up with Williams. So.
Yes.
I mean, from what I've seen, ever since AlphaTauri said they were going to become more Red Bull team and adopt some of their parts, they've been a lot quicker.
Yeah, that's true. For sure.
Adopting parts of the quickest car.
Have they already started adopting parts? Or is that from next year?
Getting a flashback to 2020 with, Force India Copping
Mercedes.
Oh
God, the pink Mercedes.
That was so good. It
literally
was just a pink Mercedes.
I love that drama. That drama made me laugh so much.
No, it was good. But yeah, I think that covers it for qualifying. It was pretty exciting, obviously, all things considered. And the race was pretty good too. And yeah,
surprisingly good Mexican Grand Prix.
Yeah, it was good. And opening lap was pretty crazy.
I'm feeling like I've had the chaos.
I mean, Max got an insane launch off the start and got past. I was like, okay, he gets second here. No, he gets past both of them in the first corner. He slots through the middle, and that was just.
He was past Sainz before the corner.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I know the toe is insane on that straight, but still, like, that is insane.
I saw on Twitter where someone was timing it, and it took him exactly 10 seconds to take the lead of the race.
Jesus.
Crazy, and he never looked back.
And never.
He won the race by like 14 seconds.
14 seconds. But then everything was happening behind him, where
and you saw.
Well, and next to him. To be fair.
Fair enough.
I mean, we were talking about that toe, and you saw Perez. He got an okay start, but then you saw that toe. He along the left side. He just. Got so much speed.
Yeah, the second phase of that start was incredible for everyone.
Like you thought everyone would just chug along a bit, but
Yeah.
then that Red Bull of Perez just went so quick. It was when you saw that like bird's eye view, it was crazy to watch.
Yep.
And then he just
and
got too ambitious and
he tried to go
Leclerc
around
in
the
middle.
outside of two of the most aggressive drivers on the grid.
Yeah, but
Leclerc
I
and
mean,
Max.
you don't want to go 3 wide in a corner like
That's
that,
true,
and you turn in, and the middle guy is looking like, well, I've got a car to my right, and I'm stuck here. You're just going to turn into me.
Late,
And
I was watching his post-race interview, and he said he was surprised that Leclerc didn't give way since he was in the middle. And
a bit of a bad statement since
a bit of a
really didn't have
stretch.
anywhere to go.
Like what was the class supposed to do? Press the brake?
There was no way he was backing off from that.
No.
Like also like it wasn't like Perez wasn't ahead of him. It wasn't like you back off because they're all ahead of you. It's like no, Leclerc was there first.
Everyone was
he was
alongside.
alongside. He was alongside.
Yeah, it was just one of those where it's just he just had so much speed going into that corner. He thought he could make it, and cars in the way, and that's just what happens when you turn in like that.
Perez did not need, especially this race.
100%.
And
home Grand Prix, the heartbreak.
Especially when the pressure is on
We
him.
were saying this last week. We were like, I hope he, doesn't do too
At
bad.
least a podium.
Jinxed it hard,
We
and
did
he
jinx it.
DNFs.
Yeah, and I do think Perez DNFing at his home Grand Prix is the most predictable thing to happen this season. Like, of course he did.
I
like
think
that
it just
poor guy.
Definitely upset his fans.
Oh, they were booing Leclerc like
Did you see the video of them like beating up for
I saw that.
Yeah.
They're becoming football fans now.
But I mean, I think if you want to describe Perez's sort of season, I think exactly you just point to this race.
Yeah.
goes out in his home Grand Prix.
Mhm.
That's all you need to really say about the season. Is just
getting out qualified by Ricardo and then going out in his home Grand Prix. Like, Jesus, that's so. It's so very
s-
Perez.
Yeah, I mean, Helmut Marko has already made a statement saying that how many times do I need to say this? He will be with us for 2024.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's just
like,
classic
oh.
Marco though. He's
That-
been
that
saying
is
that for
Marco,
years.
yeah.
He's just trying to hide the fact that,
That's true.
that he will probably drop him by the end of
Yeah.
the season.
Mm-hmm.
It would be insane if a nicer team than Red Bull kept him for another season. Like if Red Bull, even if Red Bull wasn't horrible to its drivers, no offense, Red Bull fans in the room, but you know I'm right.
Yeah.
We all watched Pierre
Yeah.
Gasly and Alex Albon. Even if Red Bull wasn't like that, surely any team would drop Perez after the
Yeah.
results he's been
Yeah,
putting
like-
up.
True, that's
Like
true.
it's
Imagine-
not good.
Imagine if at Mercedes Bottas was like crashing, or not all the time, but like having bad, qualifyings, or like was low in the order, not getting enough
Yeah.
points, and
Well, I don't think every team, if you consider Aston Martin's on the grid and they have Stroll,
It doesn't count.
Yeah.
There are
Yeah,
extenuating
that's-
circumstances
Yeah.
as to why Stroll is still on the grid.
Daddy's Cash does not qualify.
although to be fair, I did see rumours that they are considering dropping him for the next season.
I saw rumours
Yeah.
that they said like Lawrence Stroll is going to sell it, and then
Yeah.
obviously Stroll wouldn't be in the.
Maybe.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
but
don't
then-
know.
really?
All
Oh.
very rumory, like Twitter
Yeah,
speculation
That's true.
stuff.
Speaking of
Yeah.
rumors, I was scrolling through Twitter today morning, and all of the Mexican F1 journalists are going, I mean, crazy.
really,
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
apparently there's a big rumor in the paddock, and
Yeah, they
I
just
mean,
don't
no one
wanna
has
disclose
told us what it is. And Will Buxton is just out here, just sliding in gifs and emojis on
No.
all Twitter
Have you-
posts.
Have you guys seen the rumor that I did just see one guy tweet, so it's probably just a lie.
Yeah.
But it's a rumor that's Fernando Alonso is going to go to Red Bull and Perez is going to go to Aston Martin.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah,
Really?
I could see it, but I also couldn't.
I don't.
I mean-
think-
I don't think so.
I
I
don't
mean,
think
if Red Bull are looking for experienced drivers, there's no one more experienced than Alonso. And if you consider
That's-
his
what do you mean he's a
season
rookie?
results-
To be fair, yeah, wait, yeah, that.
and then you
Wait.
compare his results from this season, you would think he's a pretty good fit.
And
for
he's
Red
pretty
Bull.
reliable, all things considered.
True.
I feel like most of the time when Alonso either DNFs or doesn't do well, it's mechanical most of the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like he doesn't crash that often.
he doesn't.
Yeah.
He
And
doesn't. Yeah.
yeah,
He's
would be a
that-
terrible fit.
on,
and
on paper, it makes sense. It makes a lot of sense because
Yeah,
Red Bull
on
is not
paper,
not
definitely.
looking for a long-term second driver contract
Yeah.
because they have so many young
True.
drivers. So
And
they
they
just want to
want-
see how this goes, and they want someone who's stable for the next 2 or 3
and
years.
that experience, I think that's exactly why they've kept Perez for as long as they have, is
That's
because
true.
he's not, a rookie. And when in that, first, in 2021, he did obviously like drive well. He, helped Max win that championship, and I think they just want that experience and reliability. And honestly, like we were saying, on paper, Alonso does sort of fit that bill of experience plus reliability plus, he's not too difficult to work with. He
Mm.
is.
The only thing is if the team pisses off. Sorry, we're allowed to swear on here. If the team pisses off Alonso will make that known.
That is true,
Like
that is
he's
true,
not.
but-
Yeah,
He's-
he's not the one to stand for.
He doesn't take
Yeah.
things quietly.
Yeah.
Mm.
He's caused many a drama in his days. less recently, but we remember.
That's true, yeah. He's mellowed out in his years.
Yeah.
That's true.
He's mellowed out because he doesn't have a team that can do anything.
Mm. But yeah, that would be fun to see what he
That
could
would
do
be,
in that car, and
To be
because
fair,
obviously,
I reckon he has a chance of winning a championship if he went
Yeah.
into it.
Yeah, but
I mean,
I do
think
think
he'd do well.
I think there would be a chance of him winning the championship, but I don't see Red Bull sort of letting that happen.
No,
they
no.
want Max to keep winning.
It's definitely a
championships.
Max-focused team.
Yeah,
100%.
which fair
100%.
enough. Why wouldn't
Yeah.
I
it
mean,
be?
obviously, yeah.
Yeah,
But
you're
then
not
if
gonna
we
make it a Perez-focused team, are you?
yeah, but then if we, come back to the race,
Oh yeah,
I would
Yeah.
say one notable thing for me was my man Lando Norris. What a guy.
incredible.
Great drive, which was interesting because for the majority of the race, if you look at it, actually, he was staying in that 14th, 13th. He wasn't really going anywhere,
Yeah.
and it was pretty interesting on the start as well. He had to like back out because he almost got sandwiched, and then he just sort of not that quiet because he, a couple overtakes on
Yeah.
some of the lower back markers. I think
Mhm.
Williams and an Alpha, but
Yeah, it was
you know-
nothing notable, nothing out of the
yeah,
ordinary.
not yet until like
Yeah, he
the
didn't
very,
make
you
any
know,
headway for a long, long
Mhm.
time. And I mean, obviously, if you talk about the red flag, because Magnussen crashed, there was a suspension failure on his rear left.
Yeah.
Because I think it was because a lap earlier he went off the track,
Yeah.
and that bump may have unsettled some parts
Mm.
in his car. But yeah, that was a pretty bad crash. I'm glad he's okay.
Yeah.
And obviously, to repair the barrier, they had to give a red flag out, and that just, I mean, it was the worst timing for Norris because he had pitted a lap earlier.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Still getting to fifth after the red flag ruins, like doesn't ruin, but messes up with your strategies.
That's true. Yeah,
Very
he
impressive.
climbed to 10th before the
Yeah.
red flag. He dropped back to 15th after the red flag, and then he
And then he
finished
just-
And
fifth.
then he went
just-
crazy mode.
He just put like overtake after overtake,
And they were beautiful overtakes.
They
were-
The
they
ones
were
on,
very
like,
well done,
Russell.
really.
But can we quickly talk about like red flag real quick?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you guys think? Should you be able to like just swap your tires for free on a red flag, or do you think you should keep the old ones? Because like you just said, with some people pitting just before, there was like that safety car,
Yeah.
and then people trying to take advantage of that, and then it's just a red flag. Like it was this, I don't know, like there's a lot of races earlier where it's like there's a red flag, and then a lot of cars just gain advantage from that, and I don't know how I feel about that. I don't think cars should be allowed to swap tires.
That's true. I mean, I would say I have a different take on this, where cars should be allowed to swap tires, but then
Okay.
they should throw the red flag out earlier,
100%.
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
that teams
I
actually
agree
know
with that.
how to how to do their strategy. Because I mean, we obviously saw the crash, and me as an avid fan knew it would be a red flag
Yeah.
because they need to repair the barrier.
And
but
it's
then
right
they
there as
didn't
well.
they didn't throw out that red flag for 2 more laps.
I think that's the
Yeah.
main thing is like the red flag takes so long to come
Exactly.
out.
Yeah, and I
then it-
understand there's procedure around it and everything, but then if they could become a little bit faster in throwing the red flag out, it'll just help everyone.
Yeah, and it wouldn't be the end of the world if you throw a red flag and then you go, "Oh, did it necessarily need to be a red flag?" Doesn't really matter. Like,
Because it
Mm.
just instantly
Yeah.
stops everything.
It
so
stops
everyone's like,
everything.
it's like a level playing
Everyone's-
field. But if
yeah.
you pull out a virtual safety car or a safety
Mhm.
car and then you go, oh no, actually red flag, then
Yeah.
it's like, well, I just spent like 2-3 laps sort of thinking of this strategy, and now it's just like, well, everyone.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Everyone gets
Because
to swap
the
now
longer
and-
the safety car stays out, the less chance there is for a red flag to come out. So I think that's what McLaren was thinking as well when Norris, he didn't pit as soon as the safety car came out. He waited for a lap because then he thought there would be no
Yeah.
red flag, but then obviously that happened.
Well, I think the red flag took so long to come out because during the safety car, the marshals hadn't gotten to Magnussen's car quickly enough.
Yeah.
So I think they were just waiting for them to
Mm.
come
That's
out.
true, that's true. Yeah, there's a lot of
I think,
complications.
yeah, I think it's just
yeah.
all those things coming together. Like
Yeah.
obviously, like the stewards are talking like, oh, what should be done.
Mhm.
Safety car or red flag, and then obviously you have marshals trying to clear debris and get the car out as quickly as possible and assess the damage to every other parts like the barrier,
True.
and
true.
then convey that. And I'm not saying it's easy. It's just
it just would be nicer for us as fans watching it to not get annoyed that someone's strategy's got
That's
messed
true,
up.
that's true, yeah. Mhm.
Yeah.
Because there's that feeling of uncertainty because we don't know what will happen.
yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was a thing, but
But yeah, so basically, before the red flag, you saw, although it was hard to overtake, a lot of the cars following closely, and I feel like the strategy, on a track where it's more difficult to overtake, strategy does come into play a lot more. It's a lot more important with these pit stops, when you should pit, and a lot of the teams were sort of thinking, how early or how late. Max
Yeah.
coming in very early, Ferrari's waiting a bit later, and the undercut was sort of strong. I saw for Hamilton,
Hamilton
it was,
worked
it was
on
Hamilton
important
undercut,
Yeah.
to get past these Ferraris. I think he undertook Sainz,
Mhm.
which gave him a chance on Leclerc,
Which was such a beautiful
And-
overtake.
yeah,
I would just
I-
like to say it was
100%.
so
That
good.
it was
was
a
a good
great
one.
it was a great overtake, and I wrote this down where it's like I don't know if you see it differently, Corey, but for me when I watch Hamilton, I don't see these sort of overtakes where it was like very aggressive, like he clipped the grass a bit and just like you just went and did this great overtake. Normally when I see Hamilton, he does like cleaner.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think he's normally a very smooth driver. So, but I think
But it was good to
Mexico's-
see, and I was
mean-
happy to see that.
I mean, Mexico's such a difficult track to overtake on. I feel like
I think
you
he just
need
had
to
to.
be
He
more
needed to,
aggressive.
he had to
yeah.
just go for it,
You
and
can't be like smooth.
Because
because you don't have
yeah.
that many chances as well. Because
Yeah.
you saw, I think Russell had like 1 or 2 chances on Sainz or something like that, and
Mhm.
you know, he couldn't.
And I also think Hamilton had PTSD from lap 1, where if he tried to go around the outside of Leclerc and in turn 1, he's just left in the fate of Leclerc, and it all matters what Leclerc would do in that position, which could decide Hamilton's race. So he didn't want to take that chance, and that's why he went. It was a cracking move.
Yeah. Oh, I loved it.
No, it was really good, and like we're saying,
and that second's really important for the championship that Hamilton got.
Definitely puts him within 20 points.
And he didn't get disqualified this time.
Yeah, imagine he didn't get disqualified last time. Wouldn't he have been second last time as well?
I think so.
And
I think he would
another 18 points, he would be within 2 points. And
you know, I'm not a Hamilton fan, but quite frankly, I am rooting to see him beat Perez.
Same.
That's true.
It's
I
just
agree.
funny. More than anything,
that is
it's
true.
just funny.
That would be crazy though.
Yeah,
That's
and
true.
I mean, and it was an important second place for the constructors as well for staying ahead of Ferrari or keeping ahead of Ferrari. I can't remember what the standings.
I think
look like
to
right
secure
now.
that,
Mercedes
because
are ahead.
like we see with Ferrari, they get these consistent, you know, 3rd place, 4th place, 5th place. You know, this race 3rd and 4th, and they get consistent points. And like you just said, the second place is very important to, you know, in that constructors. And yeah, it was just great overtake, great to see. And it would be funny if Hamilton somehow 3 races left. It's very doable if Perez
keeps doing this.
If he messes up one more race, you don't even have to DNF. You know, a bad 8th place, 9th place, you're only getting 2-4 points. If Hamilton gets another 3rd place, a couple of 3rd place, 2nd place, that's a lot of points.
Well, Brazil is notoriously famous for Mercedes, so I could see
and
him doing
Brazil's
that
a great
And
track to overtake as
yeah,
well.
and
So
it's not a Red Bull strong suit.
And Brazil loves Hamilton.
Is it not?
It's not a Red Bull.
No,
No,
it's
it's definitely a
not.
Mercedes track.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
it's
obviously we
100%
saw
a
that in,
Mercedes track,
Yeah.
you know, you saw in 2021, what was that, where Hamilton started.
That was
Yeah.
beautiful.
That was a great drive, and you know,
I love
Last to
Brazil.
first, yeah.
another great chance for Hamilton to gain on Perez. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
Question is, do we see them actually win a race there?
Well, I'm not going to get any hopes up.
yeah,
I'm going to go out on a limb and say yes. Hamilton can do
I
it.
reckon Hamilton could do it.
Hamilton
He
can do
absolutely could. I legally can't get my hopes up
Legally.
because then I'll be sad when it doesn't happen. No, but it
Because-
absolutely could. Like Hamilton loves that track. That track loves him.
Yeah.
So
and we've been saying for the past couple of weeks, we love
We
that
love
track.
that
We love that track.
Brazil's great.
you're
Brazil's
new. We
amazing.
haven't shut up about how much we love Interlagos.
It's just a great track and creates great races.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty much every year. I mean,
It's
yeah.
one of the best tracks,
Yeah.
full stop,
That's true.
in the world.
well,
So
yeah,
good.
but
Mhm.
you know, we'll still talk about, you know, the ending parts of the race where Norris was, you know,
Yeah.
getting up in the order, you know, in 10th, 9th, 8th, and then he was slowly catching everyone somehow, and he was
Mhm.
finding that pace at the last 20 or so laps of the race. And where was that? He caught he just made some great overtakes, and then
Mhm.
he got behind Piastri
Yeah.
to and then they swapped.
They swapped
This is,
positions,
and I
yeah.
wrote this down where it's like, I feel like, you know, McLaren have had the best team orders, teamwork. I don't know what you want to call
Mhm.
it, where it's just
True.
both the drivers and the team is just working together. I think the best this season. I think
Yeah.
you see it where at the start of the season, obviously McLaren were terrible,
Mm.
and now they're fighting for podiums, they're fighting for points, they're fighting in this constructors, and you know, I think it's just what the best likelihood of points pretty much. So it's just both drivers want to work together on that, and you know, you saw that work to great effect, because then Norris, he got up to the back of Russell and did a great overtake, and then he even caught Ricciardo.
He
And
did, yeah. Ricardo didn't make
Which-
it easy for him.
yeah,
But then that move was excellent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, that was a great overtake, and I wasn't. Yeah, it was a bit surprising, and he just. I'm not sure. He's just because you look at Russell, and he didn't really. He had a couple chances on Ferrari, but then didn't make
Mhm.
anything stick, and then just fell behind.
Hmm.
And then Norris just comes back from like 14th all the way up, gets past
Yeah.
Russell, gets past Ricciardo, and even like the last, you know, couple of laps, Ricciardo was even gaining on Russell. I don't know if Russell had like an issue.
I think
Yeah.
my theory is that Russell's tyre management this race just
you
was
think it was
not
really
there.
bad?
Because I'm pretty sure him
That-
and Hamilton were on the same strategy. I'm
That's true.
pretty
I think that's a
sure.
good point.
Yeah, but then at
And I
that
think the
point,
time management-
Hamilton did get fastest lap on the last
Yeah.
lap
He
on
did,
those
But I
very
think-
old tyres.
I don't know if like Russell was just struggling to manage his tyres or if their setup was like slightly different or something. But I
Hamilton
don't know.
finished on mediums, didn't he?
Yeah,
think
it was
so,
like
yeah.
I think on
40
the
laps
red
old.
flag they
They
a lot of
switched to
drivers
mediums,
swapped
yeah,
to
and
mediums,
that
which
was that was a mighty stint on
Yeah.
that medium tire
Yeah.
I was
after the red flag.
it's
So
a bit
it's-
surprising to see that because there was still like 30 plus 32
Yeah,
or
half
something.
the
I-
race.
It was
yeah.
half the
quite a
race.
lot, you know. It
I
wasn't
think
a late.
I think they sort of knew that no one was going to pit again, kind of thing. Or
Mhm.
people did. I can't remember exactly.
Um,
Well,
I-
you think maybe
Remembering everyone's pit stop strategy is difficult.
also, of course, you know, you have that restart. You know,
Yeah.
maybe it's
Yeah.
better to have a medium than
Oh,
a
yeah,
hard as well.
definitely.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think they were scrub mediums as well. Like
they
they'd
were.
been,
They were scrub mediums.
Oh
So
no,
they were-
100%.
yeah.
Yeah. I don't think anyone had like newer
Yeah, no
tires
one.
at the end of
That's
that
true.
weekend.
I
Yeah.
mean,
And-
I mean, speaking of bold strategies, Max was trying a two-stop. He made
Hmm.
that certain after the race. I wasn't sure because he pitted so early from that medium.
Yeah.
I thought, is he really gonna go all the way on those hards?
But he just
But
he had so
yeah.
much pace and
Yeah, he had so.
You
Yeah,
just
he
saw-
was like I think.
he overtook Signs and yeah after he pitted
Yeah, he was like
before
20
Sainz
seconds
even
ahead.
pitted, so it was like yeah
Uh-huh.
he gained up 20 plus seconds.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
crazy
But then,
amount
yeah,
of pace that
he
Max
was
can
he was
get out.
disappointed that he didn't get to show that two-stop because he was like he could actually make it
Oh
work.
my days.
And I was like, okay, calm down. You're just showing off now.
like just don't bother.
yeah. But yeah, one more. I mean, upset in this race was a double DNF for
Aston
Aston
Martin.
Martin.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
wrote that down. An
Yeah.
early. I can't remember why Alonso retired.
I think Alonso just had an issue
Yeah.
with his car, and then
He,
of
he
course,
picked up debris in lap 1. That's
Yes.
why.
I saw that.
Mm.
Yeah.
and then of course Bottas hit Stroll near the end.
Yeah.
Well,
No.
yeah, Stroll did.
So-
Tried to overtake and then went around that corner and then just clipped.
I mean,
and then
Isn't
just
it-
his tire clipped and
I'm
he
not
just
I'm
spun.
not a
and-
particular fan of Stroll, but then I would say that was a racing incident.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's
yeah,
hard
yeah.
to say. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, isn't it quite tragic that the Aston Martins are fighting the Alfa Romeos?
Oh god.
Yeah, from
Bro.
the start they had this season to what they have now
Yeah.
is a bit of a fall from
Yeah,
grace.
and
yeah.
that double DNF, I think, just what we were saying with Perez's season. I think that just sort of talks about Aston Martin's the way their trajectories is headed.
Mhm.
You know, start of the season doing amazingly,
Yeah.
fighting, for podiums, and now a double DNF just.
Yeah. It's just not good. They're just a bad team now.
yeah.
But it feels like they should still be a good team, so every time they do
I don't
this,
know
I'm
what's
like,
happened to them. Just
They're just
yeah, it needs to be looked
bad.
at.
yeah, I think it does.
Yeah,
I
they
don't
need
think
to be.
it
Really? It needs to be looked at.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, but then there was another DNF as well, Logan Sargent, which
Yes.
not many people caught because it was
No, I
at the
didn't see
last
it.
lap,
Yeah.
and he was. I mean, to be all fairness to him, he was managing an issue on the car, a fuel pump leak, the
Ooh.
whole race. So I mean,
Damn.
you can't really hold that against
Quite
him.
tragic to DNF on the last lap, though.
That's true. That's
Yeah.
true.
Yeah, that is
Um,
sad. And another one, speaking of Ricciardo doing very well, Yuki should have had some points as well, but I can't remember how many laps before the end, trying an overtake on
Piastri.
Piastri, yeah.
on Piastri, and he just watching
Yeah.
it back, he
Yeah.
he thought he had more speed than he
Yeah.
had, and he turned in way too early. He didn't
He-
even turn in for
Yeah.
the corner.
It
He
was
did,
not.
he did, yeah.
Like he
He
turned in
fully
way too
expected
and
Piastri
just-
to just back off. But
And,
then,
and
Yeah, he-
Tsunoda was mad that Piastri wasn't punished for that, and I'm watching it back, being like, "Are you sure?"
Yeah,
Really?
Piastri- yeah,
No,
yeah.
he was saying. I think the quote, I read it in an article by The Athletic this morning. He said,
subtle plug.
I think it's not a plug.
Okay.
It's
Go on.
credit.
Go on.
I think he said something about the FIA not punishing top teams, implying
Right.
that they were like favouring McLaren, and I was like,
Mhm.
I don't know, because that
Whoa,
was like
okay.
a.
No,
I don't
no,
think
no,
that
no.
was Piastri's fault.
Nah, it's
you know?
just yeah.
Yeah, like, I
That's
don't
just
know.
another racing
And it's
incident.
Yeah.
unfortunate
True.
because
Oh yeah,
we were
like,
talking about how AlphaTauri, now they're looking decent. Ricciardo with this amazing performance and getting these points out of these last few races, they're very important for all these teams now
mm,
because any sort of great placement and they just climb that up.
especially with how tight it is down at the bottom.
Yeah.
Like even like the 7th, 8th, 9th is.
That's how it is with
matter.
these low teams. They
Yeah.
they only get, if they get lucky, 10th, 9th, 8th. That means they only get a couple points. So
Mm.
if one good race, one high placement, then you get a lot of points for your team and potentially you go ahead of other teams. So
Then again, we're seeing this season that these cars are so circuit specific.
100%.
Yeah, I
It's
mean,
crazy.
one weekend, one team would do extremely well, and then the next day just nowhere.
Yeah.
So I mean, we can't really count on AlphaTauri's success continuing till the end. But then I would hope
That's
so.
why
Well,
these
if Ricciardo
races are
keeps driving,
important. That's
yeah.
why.
Yeah.
That's why it's
Yeah.
important.
It's,
And
it's
that-
important to capitalise on the
and
races
that,
where you're
yeah,
good.
and that mistake
True.
from Yuki is so, like
Yeah.
painful is because, like we were just saying, with not your car's not going to be good on every track, and this track AlphaTauri were looking pretty good, and
Yeah.
Tsunoda should have gotten points, but
Mm.
with that mistake, and you don't know if the next 3 races they just
They
are
don't
14th,
have the
15th,
opportunity, yeah.
and that's just how it is, and it's
Mhm.
interesting you mentioned that with cars, how track specific it is. I didn't quite think about it until now, where it's like, you saw the last couple of races where McLaren doing very well, and now not as good, but now Ferrari the last 2 races have been, for qualifying at
Yeah.
least, been
Mm.
very good, and it's
Yeah.
just interesting to just think back on that, how it's like it is very
Yeah.
important just to like see which tracks which cars are good on and capitalize on that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I'm kind of hoping Ricardo has a good race at Vegas this year.
100%.
Hopefully the
Ooh.
AlphaTauri car can be
Yeah.
somewhat performing.
Yeah.
there.
Slippery,
Yeah.
slippery in a straight
Because he's
line.
been looking
Yeah,
forward
yeah.
to that, and I'm glad he's back
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
for that, and it'd be great to see. I know you'll enjoy that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, if you look forward to the next race, obviously the end of the triple header, the last race, it is Brazil.
Brazil, our beloved.
Brazil,
It's
And-
finally here.
My close personal friend Interlaga.
and it's kind of sad to say, it might be like the last good race of
Could
the
be.
season,
It might
Yeah.
be the
Oh,
last
depending on
one.
how Las Vegas
Yeah.
But I don't think
pans out. Because
Mm.
wait, we haven't had Las Vegas, right?
No,
so
no,
No,
it's
it's
the
I
same
don't
season.
know what that race looks like. I don't, we
It's-
have our
it-
doubts.
I don't think anyone's got their really,
We have
really
our
high
doubts,
hopes.
and
Yeah.
Abu Dhabi's always been
Terrible.
Just an average race.
boring,
So
bad.
honestly.
Average is being nice
Yeah.
to it.
Abu Dhabi's only exciting when the championship is exciting.
Abu Dhabi's
Yeah.
only exciting when the FAA want to make mistakes.
Oh,
Well, not really a
okay.
mistake. More of a blessing.
They said it was a mistake.
I mean, you're not wrong, and it literally is. And when
Mhm.
the
No.
championship is just won,
Yeah.
Yeah, like
it's
there's
just
no. It feels like there's very much no point
Abu
in watching
Dhabi,
it.
gets very boring, and
Well, I think Red Bull did win both championships a bit too early, so these,
Oh, yeah.
these last races
100%.
have been
Mhm.
just
Yeah.
not really that entertaining.
'Cause, like,
Yeah.
You're watching it for a good race, hopefully.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
if you don't
Yeah.
think there's going to be a good race, it feels very like, okay,
Yeah.
well, what am I watching it for? The
yeah, because if you're not
the
watching
thrilling
it to
fight
see
between AlphaTauri and Alfa Romeo.
exactly,
know?
and if you're not watching it to see the championship fight when there isn't one, and the track itself isn't that exciting to watch, then
So
why
what's the point?
why
Yeah.
would
Yeah.
you watch it? Exactly.
Yeah.
That's why it's like
We say this
Yeah.
like we won't all be tuned in.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm definitely watching it.
Oh
I-
yeah,
I-
for
Obvious-
sure.
obviously we're gonna watch
We
it.
have a
It's
podcast
just
to record.
Yeah. Yeah.
it's just it's just what could be. You
Yeah.
know, as a final race of the season, you always would
Yeah.
want that to be obviously not the best track, but you want it to be a good track
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
overtakes, for
Leave the
exciting
season on a
You
high.
want it to-
driving.
You just want it to be Interlagos.
Yeah.
Because obviously not every
That's
track
true.
can be the easiest to overtake. Because like
And you want
can't have the-
variation.
yeah.
You
and-
want a strategy track more than a
Mhm.
like insane overtake.
You know,
but-
I want Monaco there as much as I love Monaco, but obviously
Yeah.
Well-
I love Monaco qualifying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I generally just enjoy watching. I don't know why. Just
It's
the way
fun
the
to
street,
watch.
yeah,
It's
just
really
the way the
pretty.
look. It is obviously there's not a lot of overtakes, like barely any
There was like
overtakes.
two
but
overtakes.
I just
Yeah.
love watching them race on the street. Like it's just
Yeah.
good to see.
I love-
The atmosphere and like all the hype around Monaco
The
is
vibe.
definitely
And
like, my favourite
qualifying is incredibly
yeah.
exciting.
thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
qualifying is
saw
the
I saw a
one.
video ages ago saying where when you watch Monaco, you watch it for the qualifying, and I 100% agree.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Where the qualifying is just
the qualifying is
really good,
beautiful.
like
Yeah.
really good,
Okay.
because the way you have to drive that circuit is just
It's very
crazy. I feel
precise,
like we're
yeah.
doing a Monaco rundown
Oh,
right
yeah.
now,
Yeah.
but
If we're
You
still on Monaco, I'm just gonna put my hat in and say the Formula E around Monaco.
Oh, okay.
Please, guys, it's so good. But
Ah.
I'm moving on from my
That's
Formula
that's
E
the one
propaganda.
Formula E race I have seen.
It's
and
incredible,
it
yeah.
It is really nice.
Because
but then-
it's cars that can overtake around Monaco on Monaco.
Yeah.
is it because the cars are smaller?
They are smaller.
they're
Yeah,
like- way
That's
smaller.
that added another reason why Monaco
Yeah.
gets worse and worse with overtakes. Is the
Yeah.
cars have gotten
Well, yeah, 'cause
wider
Oh,
and
because
bigger.
it used to be incredible when we had small F1 cars. Monaco
Yeah.
was beautiful.
I
Like,
think the last good
Yeah, like
race we had
those-
at Monaco was 2018.
yes,
100%.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
those like, and you know, yeah, back in that like, before 2018, like 2016, like you had like very skinny cars with that high rear wing,
Yeah.
and you know, it just allowed for like more space on that
Yeah.
track.
I much prefer the lighter cars than these
Yeah.
ones, but
Mm.
yeah.
At least like, you know, a
I
bit
mean,
smaller.
If it's all for safety, then obviously.
Oh, yeah, like-
yeah.
I
Yeah,
want
that
the
is true.
safest cars we can possibly get,
Yeah.
but I also would like it if Monaco was good.
Yeah.
You know?
Uh-huh.
It's such a
then-
shame they can't just widen Monaco a bit.
Yeah. yeah.
Like, I know
Yeah.
they can't.
Yeah.
Just
I wish
demolish
they
some of
could.
the houses and
That-
just move
that
the
is
rest.
so
Yeah.
true.
Yeah.
Like, imagine if you could literally just, like you just said, like make Monaco that tad bit wider. It would just
Mhm.
improve the track tenfold.
Because them corners are still beautiful. Like, if
Oh,
they
yeah.
were just slightly wider.
100%.
Rascas.
Oh, yeah.
Rascas. Amazing. Yeah. But then Matt, I have a question for you. What's your favorite track?
Ooh.
It's either Monaco or Silverstone. I think those two are definitely my favourite to watch in the year.
Fair enough,
Silverstone, yeah.
Okay, wait.
banging.
If we're doing favorite tracks, okay, Sid, what's your favorite track? Let's go around the.
Okay.
I think everyone knows my favourite track, guys.
I would have to say, if you're picking two, I would say Silverstone and Spa. Spa is
Spa's
Mm.
good.
Yeah.
Spa stresses me out.
Spa is good. Spa is
Apparently,
good.
apparently that's been rumoured to leave though after next year.
Yeah, well, I
Oh.
mean,
Is it
there are
till
the
2026. They sign a contract till 2026. I'm pretty
Mm.
sure. Let me check that for you. Till then, Robin, what's your favorite track?
My favorite track is the Austrian Grand Prix. I
Yes,
love that
I
track.
love that
Austria's
track.
good, yeah.
I'm biased, but I love that track. So it's a great track.
It
Uh,
is.
It's just always exciting, good to overtake, and just yeah. I mean, I don't know what's not to like. Qualifying's
Yeah.
good. The race is
Yeah.
good. It allows most cars quite
Austria
good,
is
and
great.
just that first. And then you go into that second turn, and then you go right up that hill.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so
Them-
good. Into that third corner where there's always some accident waiting to happen.
Them,
Ooh.
them two 2020 races in Austria was
Mm.
so good.
Yeah.
Anyway, my favourite track.
Yeah.
I wonder if anyone is going to be surprised, but
Mhm.
Interlagos.
No
but-
way.
Second, Singapore. Beautiful.
Oh,
I love a
Singapore's
night.
good.
I love a night race. I love a street race.
I do love a nice
Singapore-
night
Yeah.
race as well, and that's the one thing I like about Abu Dhabi
Yeah.
is that it's at night. I don't
The
know why
sunset, it's so-
it just gives it that different vibe, especially when
Yeah.
it's a last race of the season. I don't know why
Yeah.
night,
It has-
night sort of setting gives it sort of that grandiose. I don't know
I
why.
feel like it's got
Yeah,
like
that's
the
true.
neon lights, like that
Yeah.
kind of like
Yeah.
vibe is very beautiful. But I love
Yeah.
Singapore. I think
That's
it's,
that one.
Excellent.
Well, speaking of night street races, we got Vegas there. So
Yeah,
be
but
Oh, is
I
that
don't-
night as well?
is.
Makes
but I
sense.
don't
Yeah.
like. I don't trust it.
I mean, but the Vegas
It could
straight,
be
yeah.
excellent. It could be. If it's excellent, I will revoke
yeah,
all
the
of
Vegas
this. But I
format
don't
is
think it
the
will
Vegas
be.
format is so weird because the race
Yeah.
is on Saturday.
Is it?
Hang on.
Oh yeah, it's like
Yeah, go on.
It's Thursday practice, Friday qualifying, Saturday race. Yeah.
Damn, what? You
Huh?
guys, we should
Yeah.
know this.
That's
Yeah.
so weird.
I think it's because it's like at midnight that it's happening.
Yeah, it's,
so
it's some like
The-
it's
what
gonna be
the
like
race-
because of the
normal
time
timings
zones.
for us.
Mm. Vegas residents are so annoyed about that race.
Yeah.
Like people that live there
Oh,
hate
yeah.
that it's
Oh, yeah.
happening.
So is Brazil then the last sprint race? Is Brazil a sprint race or?
I think it is.
Because
I
the
think
last,
so.
the reason why I say that is because obviously the last couple of years it's been a sprint race.
Mm.
So I think that's the last sprint race of the season probably. So
Mm.
we can look forward to that. But honestly, you know, I don't mind more racing at Brazil. So
I have to put a word in because I just remembered a track. Baku.
Baku. Yeah,
I was
that
thinking
is-
that as
that is
well. Of
one of my
course,
favourites.
that's
That's-
one of my top ones. I like
That's
it. I don't know. I like it.
Why
It's-
don't you like it?
No,
That castle
it's not like I
section
don't
and-
like it. It's just not my favorite.
Fair enough.
It's not my favorite, but
It's made some-
one of my top.
You know what?
ones.
It's my Baku is my favorite F2 track.
Okay.
I know.
Not to bring in other
Interesting.
motorsports again.
Mm.
Why
The F2
specifically F2?
Because none of the drivers know how to drive it.
That is good.
Because they don't. I don't. Yeah, I don't know. It's just always chaos in F2 because
I
they're
can
all
imagine,
a bit.
and
They're all a bit silly.
yeah,
yes.
and you know, obviously F2 has like all the cars are the same, right? So
yeah, and
Yeah.
Yeah.
wow,
That's
they
straight.
say
yeah, obviously for some reason, but
for some
so you have that
reason.
straight where it's just like it doesn't, one car has like is way quicker than the
yeah.
other, so it's all about that technical section as well, and
Yeah.
then. Are you close enough behind that car to make that overtake? I can
so
imagine.
often they're not, but they believe they are. it's a beautiful one.
Oh, I can imagine
Yeah.
like them running off like
The
Hamilton
scenes.
did.
Yeah.
Ooh, get that one in there. But
Put a Mark Webber
PTSD.
scream in the background.
Oh yeah.
oh yeah, that's
Yeah,
true.
scream.
But yeah, some races to look forward to. Obviously, Brazil. Can't wait to see that. It's just there's no break now? Is it just week on week or?
No, we've
I
got a
think
break.
there is a break after Brazil. And then
Yeah.
it goes
Okay,
into
so
Vegas.
next week Brazil, then we have a break, and then we'll see what Las Vegas is like, and we know what Abu Dhabi's like, but
Yeah.
hopefully, I mean, at least with Abu Dhabi, it'll be interesting for the
small
the
teams.
the lower
Yeah.
down teams to
Yeah.
Yeah.
very
Cement
important
their place,
points.
And hey, you never know when something insane's going to happen. You never know when there's going to be a weird safety
Maybe
car
maybe Max gets an issue and
Maybe.
someone else wins.
Maybe Max
Norris
qualifies,
gets
but-
us first.
Maybe Max qualifies 19th and we get to like see a good fight back. or
That would be
something.
crazy,
Like,
but-
that would be fun.
He'd still win.
I know he'd still win,
Yeah.
but it might be more
I was
fun.
about to say a good fight back for 5 laps.
That's so true. And then he wins by 20 seconds.
Yeah, because everyone keeps letting him pass because they're like, we're not racing Max.
Yeah, that's true.
But before we end, I think one thing we forgot to mention, isn't this is Max's 16th win this season, and
Ooh.
isn't that a record,
How
right?
have
It
we
is a
forgotten to
record.
mention that?
I-
Holy shit.
I
okay,
just
yeah.
remembered that, and yeah.
And he's on 51 wins in his F1 career, so he's tied with Prost now.
He's tied
He's
with
going to
Prost.
beat
Which is
Hamilton. I'm saying it. By the time his contract's up, he will beat Hamilton's
Before
records.
Hamilton, he will beat Vettel's record, so
Mm.
he could beat it
How
this
many
year.
wins does Vettel have?
is 53.
Yeah.
53.
He could
Oh.
very much beat Vettel this season.
Yeah.
Like, I wouldn't be surprised at all.
And yeah, obviously
mean-
16 wins in a season, absolutely crazy. He
Ugh.
beat his own record of 15 wins last
Yeah.
year.
Yeah.
Do we know what the record before 15 is?
That
I think it was Schumacher
that
with
was Schumacher.
Yeah.
14.
Really?
I mean,
That's crazy.
I'm gonna put in the obvious statement that there are way more races in a season now.
Oh
Again,
no,
that's
100%.
true.
All these like that's why I always say with like
I always feel like we need to qualify them kind of records.
no,
with,
100%.
like,
That's
the-
why I.
He's not better than Schumacher yet.
Oh no,
He-
100%
okay, he
not.
might be, but I'm not saying like I'm not going to be like.
Schumacher
You're
still-
just saying that
look,
because we're
Schumacher
staring at
Schumacher
you.
still has 7 champions. Like,
Yeah.
come on. And
Come
also, this is why I always think like I love Schumacher so much is because back in his, like you don't have how many races are this season, like 26 or something
Mm.
like.
24.
Yeah, you
24.
don't have that many. You have like 14, 15, 16,
Yeah,
17.
and you're winning 13 of them.
And you,
Yeah.
yeah, you're winning 13 in a row.
Yeah.
That is insane.
That's
Obviously, 16 wins is also insane.
Yeah.
Obviously.
But-
I think if Max wins these next 3, he will be what 19 out of 23
That is
wins.
like
Yeah.
if you win like almost 20 in
Yeah.
that season,
Yeah.
That's
is
mad.
that is still like that's like it's. I feel like you need to focus more on like the percentage.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
is important
Mm,
because that's why that like yeah when you look back at Schumacher and also like when you compare him with
Vettel,
Hamilton as well,
yeah.
like that's why Hamilton's such a great as well. Is like just
Yeah.
the records you break and just
Yeah.
although you have more races in a season, it's
Yeah.
still what you can accomplish and
Yeah, yeah.
you can't
For
take away.
sure.
And 16
Oh,
is
yeah.
still insane. And,
Obviously. Yeah.
Is an
you know,
insane record.
like yeah,
But
like,
then,
alongside
obviously
that,
with more races, there's also more opportunities for everything to go wrong. And it
Yeah,
hasn't,
but there's also
so-
much more reliable cars
That's
now,
true,
so I feel like it sort of
Yeah,
evens
speaking
out.
of, reliability, we saw, quite a lot of concerns, especially with the high altitude.
it's
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
funny we
Thing,
say that.
yeah.
Last week we were talking about how reliable everything was.
Yeah, and then all of a
This-
sudden,
all-
tires are overheating, car is overheating.
The high
Yeah.
altitude always throws a spanner into
Yeah.
the works, but
I think that's just just how it is when you go race to race,
mm,
But-
yeah, back to backs as well.
Yeah, I think we covered everything. Look, I'm definitely looking forward to Brazil next week. I
Oh,
can't wait to
100%.
talk about it
So
with you guys, but
Imagine if it's a terrible race now, though.
It can't-
We've hyped it up
Don't
so
say that.
much.
oh,
Don't
that'd
say
be
that.
painful.
That's
But
not
I
good.
guess
Touch wood.
Fully
Yeah.
expect an R plus podcast
It can't be, though.
episode next
Yeah.
year.
Well, depending on
Yeah.
who wins the sprint race, that'll be
with
who
Mm.
wins the main one.
but with
Yeah.
Mercedes looking good, McLaren looking good, I feel like they will both
Both be on
suit
podium.
that track.
Yeah.
They both
Red-
will.
Max is Max.
Max is Max.
And then
And Perez
I
is
don't
Perez.
think
and
yeah.
Ricardo.
I don't
Ricardo, if he-
Ricardo,
yeah.
yeah.
I'm worried for Ferrari, but other than that, I'm excited to see. I think it's going to be a great race. Sprint as well, so more
Mm.
to talk about and
Yeah.
important for the teams. But yeah,
And you never know when you're going to get an Alex Albon podium. That's a joke.
Maybe not Brazil. Maybe not.
What,
not
Brazil.
I mean, what
season.
was that before with
It's all good. It's all good delusion moment.
Didn't Gasly or someone get like a third place finish one time at Brazil? Like
Yeah.
that
Gasly
We got,
that
um,
drag race
There was
end
that-
finisher.
2019.
Yeah.
And what was that with
It was
Bottas catching like Stroll, or that was a different
that
race?
one was
but-
it? Was it Hamilton, Sainz, Gasly? Was that
Oh,
podium in
yeah.
that one Brazil
Yeah.
race? I don't know whether it was Hamilton. I think it was though.
I
It
think
was Sainz and
Hamilton.
Gasly second and third,
Yeah,
or,
yeah, yeah.
or third and second.
It's just
Okay.
it's,
Ah.
it's
because
just
it was after the Vettel and Leclerc they crashed and they all exploded,
Mm.
2019,
which was
yeah.
weird. 2019. Oh, what a race!
What a race, yeah.
What a
Albon
race.
spinning out.
Well,
Yeah.
even if this Brazil
Don't say that with such joy on your face.
No, that was Spain. That was Spain.
It was painful.
Yeah, it was painful.
Well, you know, I'm pretty sure it's going to be a good race, but even not, we can just talk about the previous
Yeah.
Brazil races and
Yeah.
talk about that for an
Yeah.
hour.
Yeah.
But, you know, thanks for joining us, guys. Thanks, Sid, Corey, Matt. Thanks for coming for your first episode. I think it was a good one, and I'm
Yeah.
looking forward to Brazil. So thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week.
Yeah, catch you
Goodbye.
guys later.
Yeah, see you then.